pursuit of this objective, we will address the challenges our existing and aspiring entrepreneurs face. These challenges include access to credit and finance, regulatory and tax burdens, lack of skills, as well as mentorship. We will do this whilst intensifying our efforts to support the private sector to expand and create jobs.
Why are there so many interventions by successive governments, yet the level of economic hardship keeps getting worse? Have we not paid much attention to entrepreneurial freedom as a subset of economic freedom? Are government's policies marred by excessive bureaucratic institutions which render them ineffective and unsustainable to the extent that entrepreneurial growth is rather retrogressing? According to the World Bank, Ghana's unemployment rate hovers around 12% and underemployment hovers around 50%. Young people are the most affected, and the successive government's interventions have not yielded any sustainable result in dealing with this problem. During the last 6 months, we toured all 16 regions in Ghana to learn from some entrepreneurs factors inhibiting their growth, and by this video offering recommendations to the government of Ghana how entrepreneurship freedom encourages prosperity in a more sustainable manner while addressing critical socio-economic challenges. Can entrepreneurship freedom help address many of such complex socio-economic problems? First, what is the Regional Entrepreneurship Freedom Index?
My name is Emmanuel Akwa. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of Africa Center for Entrepreneurship and Youth Empowerment, popularly known as Aceye. Aceye is an entrepreneurial and free market policy think tank influencing policies on the back of research, advocacy, advisory services, nurturing tutoring. The Regional Entrepreneurship Freedom Index, also known as the REF Index, is an in-country study of all 16 regions in Ghana according to a set of indices on factors inhibiting entrepreneurial growth, with recommendations offered to improve the list region scores. Now, if you look at the REF Index, the anticipated outcome of the REF Index is to help some of these problems that government is battling with. And this is why we consider the REF Index as a very important project. Where freedom is lacking, poverty is inevitable. With this particular project, once the space is free, entrepreneurs would be able to earn more, save more, and then invest more, which means that the level of prosperity in the country would be much higher. And then also we would have more jobs in the country. Issues about unemployment and then bribery and corruption and other socioeconomic problems affecting our economy would be curtailed.
We began our entrepreneurial tour by visiting Jeffrey Boakye Appiagyei in the Ashanti region and subsequently to other entrepreneurs in different regions.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Boakye Appiagyei. I'm a co-founder of Aceye company. At Aceye, we build smart agricultural machinery that improve the productivity of smallholder farmers. Our flagship is a multi-crop thresher ST6000 that successfully separates the grains of all the major legumes and cereals grown in Africa. We also have in production a multi-grain dryer and a multi-grain cleaner. Our machinery comes with a mobile application in development that allows you to track where your machines are and how long they have worked. We registered Aceye in September 2018 and we have been in existence since then. Grain dryer and a multi-grain cleaner. Our machinery comes with a mobile application in development that allows you to track where your machines are and how long they have worked. We registered Aceye in September 2018 and we have been in existence since then.
My name is Gifty Ahomile and I'm the CEO of Nuna Essentials Enterprise. We have a range of products and that's actually one of our products. It's one of our most selling products. It's called Unique Man Plus. This product helps in solving people with bald hair, ladies who braid and they lose their frontal hair. This is a natural herbal oil that helps in growing back their hair.
My name is Charles Pesiado. I'm the CEO for Showers Link Company Limited. It is a microfinance, and it has been in existence for 8 years now. It was started in the year July 13th, 2013, and is still in operation.
My name is Kubia Jolis. The name of my business is Courage Rose Medical Supplies. I registered the business in the year 2018, 2nd January. Then I started operating in 2019 January. So the business is almost 3 years now.
My name is Vanilla Aceye. I'm the CEO of VA Nini Aceye Enterprise. This business was established in 2020 and I got this business registered in 2021.
My name is Gideon Pasikeke, the CEO of Zion One Royal Ventures. Zion One Royal Ventures has been in operation for 8 years.
When was it registered?
It was registered in 2017.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ajak Abraham, the CEO of Patomed Ghana Limited. Patomed Ghana Limited is a company that is into medical diagnosis, particularly laboratory diagnosis. We are into the supply of medical equipment and consumables as well. The company was started back in February 2018 and we've been in operation till now.
Kuya Janet, I'm CEO of Nanaya Opoku Licenses over-the-counter chemical. I've been 15 years since 2005.
So my name is Michael Aceye, Operation Manager of Michael Aceye Limited, based in Afugos. We have been in operation since 2001, and we are into fast-moving consumer goods in this area.
My name is Mr. Emeleng Alo, a business owner. This is the CEO of Emeleng Enterprise. The business is actually for me personally, the Chief Executive Officer of Emeleng Enterprise. We sell all kinds of Apsonic motorbikes and Apsonic motor parts, the spare parts, as you can see. We sell yellow, we sell tricycles, we sell electronics such as fridges, AC, TV, freezers, fans, and so many of it. So we're into buy and sell.
My name is Mrs. Kidisu Josephine. I'm a teacher by profession and then the CEO of Classic Beauty. Classic Beauty is a company that has been registered for a year and a half now. We provide services like hairdressing, that's the unisex salon. We also have photo studio. We have a unisex boutique and also a provision shop.
I'm Richard Okwaben, the CEO of Cleaning Services. It's been in existence for 2 years now.
My name is Christopher Issa, the CEO of Press Media Concept. I'm a graphic designer and an artist. My business was registered in 2019. I started this business a little bit from 2019, 2020, and 2021. So 3 years from there.
My name is Benjamin Awune Asatanga. I'm born in Nalergo. I'm the CEO of Tumalala Farms. It was registered in 2012.
I'm Saka Mohammed in Big Motors. Then we deal with motorbike and then tricycles. Yeah, we are into the sale of tricycles and motorbikes. And then I'm the head of operation.
My name is Cletus Ada. I am the CEO of Cletus Ada Fashion Center. I started this work since 1992 up to date. I registered my business since around 1998 thereabout. I'm into this smoke business. I sold smokes to sell.
Okay.
I do agree in a large extent that there are many licenses and procedures that are required to register a company and to get certain permits to operate within certain jurisdictions of business. It hasn't really been for my case because the infrastructure in my area concerning licensing and permits are not really developed in the framework we have in Ghana. However, I have many other entrepreneurial friends who have had to go to a lot of hassle, mostly getting the other licenses that they require, especially in food processing and other various forms of agribusiness.
Okay, 10 years ago it was so difficult. It's not like today that you can just sit at home and register online. I can't remember how long, but it was more than 3 months going back and forth. Sometimes when you even get there, you don't get all the assistance you need because you're a beginner, I don't have much idea. But I think it took like 3 months and you have to go in and out severally. So it was quite difficult at the beginning. I was even discouraged not to really register. But at the end, I needed to, just to have the standardization.
Yeah, licensing of business here in Ghana shouldn't be that difficult. But as starters, we go through a lot. Initially, way back in 2013 that I started my process, it took me somebody, a guru man in Ghana, that guru means a middleman, to help me get the business registered. But as we speak now, in this year, 2021, the government has adopted an electronic means of registration, so which it has made it a bit easier for us now today.
It took me close to a month. Yes, I agree to that. There are a lot of registrations you have to go through after registrar general. You have to go to the municipal to do another registration and all that. When I did the registration, according to the time frame, it's supposed to take like 2 weeks before, for me to get my license, but it took more than 2 weeks. So I believe there's some kind of bureaucracy there that delayed the processes.
It was not easy because traveling from here to Accra wasn't that easy.
Sorry. The process was so easy. I didn't do anything much, but some few questions were asked, and it was so simple. What I want to do maybe in the near future, what I want to add to the business when I get much money to be able to establish more. That's it. So that I wouldn't go back again and register them.
There are a good number of them. Some we feel the processes involved are too long. I feel the processes usually take a longer time, and you have to do that before you start operating the business. So sometimes when the process is delayed, people try to find their way to get it faster, and by so doing, they may try to influence the regulatory bodies. We have the perception that when it's so delaying, they are probably just sitting on it for you to do something. But as to whether that is true, I cannot tell. Or in some cases, registrations help businesses. In a way, they help to protect your businesses. For instance, in our field, without registration, anybody at all can just go and open a hospital or a laboratory and start doing whatever that is not even required, or they don't have the skilled people to carry out the work.
Yes, it's part of the hustle that people go through in trying to reach a business. It's one of the things that discourages business from progressing and doing business in Ghana. The requirements that you need to go through, the details, the documentations, it becomes difficult to get these things done, especially if you don't have all the records in place. And getting the records also being a challenge. Some of the things that goes through in getting these things done. Then it wasn't too much of a difficulty, but as I said, it began in 2001. So the process then wasn't that cumbersome as at now. So it was quite not that hectic there to get it done. Yeah, corruption is in the bane of businesses in Ghana. I think every area wants to take advantage of where they are and to make money for one of them from there, or trying to get advantage of Ghana help. You see that you have to iron the reels of there's something that goes with it. There's a tactic approval of corruption of a sort, and it's part of one of the reasons why it discourages people from going through the process. So when it's delayed, you have to speed up. So you try to speed up your bit to give away something to get the process done quickly.
I actually agree, because if you want to do, our business is small though, but if you want to do a very big business, sometimes because of the registration order, so many registration that they are requesting for you to obtain the business. Because of that, some of us, when we want to do that and they request the amount is too high, or a lot of documents, we need a lot of documents to acquire. It do scale us out from doing the business, because maybe at the end of it, the cost of the registration or the forms may take their capital we want to invest into the business. So from there, it will scale us from doing the business. At the end of it, you will see the money vanish, and human being and the money to the country. So okay, for we personally, it's affecting us in so many ways, because it affects the tax is affecting us based on those big people bringing the business to us. Every time they will tell us the price has increased due to the tax. Because when the tax increases, when they increase the taxes, it affects the price. So we can buy something at the cost of 10 Ghana cedi, come here to sell it at the cost of 12 Ghana cedi. When you finish selling 12 Ghana cedi or 11 cedi, and you are going to buy again, you buy it at the cost of 15 cedi. So that we are not progressing. That keeps surprising us, will keep being low because of the tax. When we try to ask, they will tell us that because of the tax and the duty or that, they give so many reasons. Oh no! I have never not. That one have not happened to me. Trying to engage in corruption or bribery. No one have ever approached me to that. But I could remember, yes, okay. I could remember one day. It only happens to me once when a man works to me, asks me to release company account to him, and he will pay. He will deposit huge amount of money, which will, but the person so rest in peace because now it's late. That they are going to deposit about very huge amount of money, which I can't remember the amount. But he told me, made it clear to me that my percentage is going to be about 300,000 Ghana cedi. If I release the account and they pay the money, I am going to get 300,000 Ghana cedi, 3 billion old currency. And I will leave the country. If they give me that such amount, the only thing I will do is to leave the country. I said no. Anything that will make me leave the country, I will not do. And anything that will put me at risk, that I will be hiding, I will not involve myself in such act. So that is the only bribery I have.
Obtaining the license wasn't that difficult in the first place. I went to the Registrar General, I picked the form, then within a space of time I was given the license. The actual difficulty was the capital. Raising the capital, that was the issue.
License and registration. Okay, so for instance, I have about 20 product ranges, and the FDA requires that I register for each of them, and each costs almost 1,000 Ghana cedis. How can a young entrepreneur like me, how much is my capital, and how much can I invest in registering those products? So it's really difficult. And if you go to most of the shops, they are requiring you to register a product. It's not possible for a young entrepreneur to use 20,000. How much is the capital at all? So I think the government needs to help us with those registration, rather, to help us employ more people. And with the registration, with some of the registration require you going to different branches of the organization. Let's say, for instance, if you are registering something like food-based, you need to go to Mampo to test for the product and come back to Accra for the licensing, which I think is too tedious.
I've never been bribed, and I've never bribed anyone in business. I think it's difficult to get certificate from the FDA. I've tried like twice, but it wasn't successful.
Tariff has actually made Ghana goods so expensive, because every material you buy, there is VAT, there is so many taxes on it, and at the end of the day, after production, your product becomes so expensive comparing to imported goods. So this is really killing our businesses in Ghana.
Like I earlier stated, way back in 2013, those fallacy was there in terms of corruption and bureaucracy, because the process was so cumbersome. You have to go to Accra to get your business registered, but now it has been decentralized, and because of that nature, that menace of corruption have reduced drastically.
Yeah, I would say that I have not yet experienced that one, but the only area I always experience is the doing your lease document of your land. When you always go there, you take more than 3, 4, even 1 year without getting that document, and it always become frustrated on that doing the registration of any activity you want to do. You know, some of the, excuse me to say, farmers or widows who don't have enough time to even follow document, we only want to go to certain area. If they say pay this amount and I'm doing the work for you, then you pay the amount. It doesn't mean that the person should detain you again. Within that period, the person should be able to give all your necessary documents for you, so that you can be able to go back and do your work well. So to me, I would say that sometimes the corruption is always on that side. You pay the money, they will even tell you that pay this amount, and you pay the money finish. Then when you come the next day, then the story change again, which means that there is a corruption on it.
It slow the business. It slow the business in the sense that when the tax is high, we are forced to also increase the price of motorbikes. Then that one will lead to the high pricing of the motorbikes, and then that one slow the business, because we sell. It's after they buy that we also pay our employees, because there are people that we have to also attend to at the end of the month. So you'll be forced to increase the price in order to cover up. Yeah. Something like a number plate. Let's assume if you want your motorbike to be registered, I'm not being specific only on 1 year. It's not only 1 year. Let's assume if you want your motorbike to be licensed, the number, if you want it to be registered, then you are passing through the normal channel. The days it will take you, maybe are the one that know the other way to pass through. You'll be forced to pass it in order to have it faster and easy. So you'll be forced to give something out in order to have it fast and carry on with your business. Because that one too, it helps our business to go. When they are buying, then you're able to register it fast, or you're able to lead the person to get the registration easily. then you get that one, it also bring more customers to us. So for bribery and corruption, we are not the people that started it, but it's there. We also made it like that.
Borrowing is something I never want to do, because at the end of the day, you just work for the banks. You borrow and the rates are so high. You come and sell, people will buy without paying, and at the end of the day, your interest is accrued. Where will I get the money to pay? So I think for me, borrowing doesn't even come into mind at all, because it's just a killer. It will kill your business one time.
As I earlier stated, tax composition for every young and entrepreneur is a hurdle, because when you get your business registered, automatically by law you have to register with the Ghana Revenue Authority, and because people are novice in terms of their accounting background or the sector within which they find themselves, most of them think automatically once you are registered with the Ghana Revenue Authority you have to pay tax. But if you are academically or accountantly inclined, you'll be able to ascertain that it's only if you make profit before you pay tax. But to others, they run because taxes are killing them. And government is also giving tax holidays to the expatriate, the foreign businesses. So I wish and pray that the government of the day will also find a modality to help reduce those tariffs for the young indigenous businesses, so that they can get grants. At least a lapse of 5 years will help, so that they can get grants in order to be able to pay taxes.
GRA. Every year I paid 500 assessment per year. It's so cost, I can't even pay.
For me, interest rate is killing us. I am in the financial sector, like I earlier stated that I operate in microfinance. Interest rate by the central bank to the commercial bank comes out barely 14%. And then these commercial banks, because of risk and other factors, sell it out to us as much as to 24 or 23%, depending on the risk measure. So interest rate is killing us. And majority of us youth who are venturing into entrepreneurship, you should know the factors of production. And capital is essential of all when you come to our part here in Africa, specifically Ghana. And therefore, the need for the government of the day to make a policy so that there will be a floor and a cap in terms of the interest rate. You can't go beyond, say, 20%, so that it will improve the borrowing rights of every entrepreneur in the country.
Taxes, when it comes to this business, have affected us in diverse ways. When it comes to the provision shop, for instance, the assembly comes around to take an amount of money that is not encouraging. Provisions are everyday needs that we as human beings use, and without them, life wouldn't be that easy. So the government imposing huge or heavy taxes on provision shops is not helping us in any way. Also, the land on which our containers or our shops are located are being charged heavily. So in addition to the tax, you realize that we make nothing when we are being charged heavily. Yes, and then for the salon, for that one, the government has an amount of money that I think quarterly they come around to take, which is also not encouraging. I think it should be yearly, every year it should be annually, yes. But then quarterly, it's not encouraging, because we have to buy products for our services. We also have to pay our workers, and so if taxes are very high, we will make nothing out of the day.
I don't like borrowing because of the high interest rates. I prefer to borrow from families than to go to the bank or
I've never borrowed. The first time I tried, The interest was too much, so I quit it.
There have been a number of people, though I don't have the records, in an attempt to even get a loan from the government organizations. Is a bit cumbersome and the rates are very high. Some of the banks, the rates are very high. And in business, you are actually not sure of the outcome of whatever loan you take from the banks. So if the rates are high and you are not performing, definitely you are going back to ground zero.
It's affected a lot. I can't get money to buy things in my shop. Every time when you get money, you just go out and pay the tax. A private sector said the tax is too much, but I think government sectors is not like that. If you go to credit union, the interest rate is 3%, but government side is some are 5% and even more than that. So you can't go by yourself for the loan, else you can't pay it. If they give you a loan, they say 1 year to pay, just 1 year. You can't pay. If you go to some of the countries, even 5 years, 4 years, so that you will pay it gradually process. But here, they divide it. If you pay the interest, even your money will collapse. If you are not even to one people or NDC, they will not give it to you unless you involve yourself in politics. Government should stop all these things and look and care for those people who are Ghanaians, not people who are in politics, who are in Part A or Part B.
Taxes, it aids in the development of country. Taxes are very good. And I'm saying the business setup after COVID, the challenges are there, your ability to turn over challenges there. So taxes tend to, the more taxes you are being put on to pay, it tends to affect your margin, your bottom line. And with the cost of doing business going up, paying huge taxes tend to affect your bottom line, which goes out to affect your ability to expand the business because you have limited resources to now to expand the business. Businesses strive with loans and facilities, and people are being taking loans at the rate of 3%, 4% outside the country, coming in based in Ghana, where you're supposed to pay 25, 24% in the same market. You cannot compete, you cannot expand. So interest rates is one of our biggest challenge in modern business in trying to expand. But you want to expand, you need to borrow more, you need to now infrastructure in place, which requires capital. And the cost of capital is high in Ghana here, and that's one of the bone of our challenges as a business.
The interest rate on loans at times is appalling. We are meant to pay interest of 25% on loan, which is not encouraging, and it cannot help businesses as an individual or a private owner. So we sometimes feel insecure to go for loans, especially when the business is low.
That one is really affecting us. The interest rate is really affecting because you may like you want to loan, you want to go for a loan. The percentage is always too much. It is always too high, which if care is not taken, you find it difficult to pay the money because you are going for that loan. You are going for the loan to do the business and get profit. But the interest rate will end up taking the profit and even take some of the money. So we're struggling to pay it just because of the rate. So the rate is very high. The rate that we are facing in terms of going for loan is always high. So if there's something I can do about that one, it will help.
Of late, if you go and borrow from the bank, it's more or less like you are working for them, especially the rural banks, because the amount of interest rate you have to pay at the end of the day, if you're not careful, the little startup capital that you have, you will end up using the whole thing to pay off the loan. So it's not really helping.
Most businesses are collapsing because they are not even breaking even in terms of profit. How then to talk of tax? So as young as they are, with little capital to start up, they are also to pay within the minimum wage. And the composition of a business entity should have a select, you should be able to pay select for your people, that means your workers, you should be able to pay them within the minimum wage. And if this taxation issue becomes a hurdle, then automatically you go out of business.
Sometimes it affects us because if you are not paying your taxes, it means that the other way around cannot also do, because it is taxes we are paying, and government used to develop roads, developing your district and figure roads and other things. But if you are not also paying taxes, it means that you cannot be able to get development in your area. So it is good for company to pay taxes, but I want that taxes to be flexible for a business people like a private sector to be also to run the business well.
Well, if it's high, it affects your business. Because if you pick a loan, but they give you a certain amount, you will pay at least every month. You have to put something down. You have to deposit something reasonable. So if the interest rate is high, then at the end of the month, your market is not able to move on well. How to get that amount to cover up is always difficult. So if the interest rate is high, then they compile. Then if this month you're not able to meet the requirement, meaning the other coming month, you have to pay additional to cover up, and that one is affected.
Since I started my business, I didn't get any help from the government. I struggled myself. So I think government spend more into the public sector more than the private sector. Actually, for the taxes, at times they'll just come and give you any amount at all, that this is how you're supposed to pay. Meanwhile, they didn't assess your business to know how much you have been getting for this a month before. For that one, it is a lot of disturbance. It disturbs us a lot, because I think that they always have to assess our businesses before the taxes, but they always mention any amount for us that this is what we have. We have to pay every year. Yearly. So I think it is something that they have a lot of progress to disturb us.
I think since the government has an upper hand, or can employ more people, or can pay much better than private enterprises, it's going to affect the private enterprises when it comes to employing people. When it's about the wages, the salary, I think the government will do better paying them more than the private sectors. So the enterprises might collapse.
Not really. I think private sector businesses have enough space to sort of go through their own business. There's a lot in Ghana that we can do. The government has not really, I can't say it has taken over. There's a lot more as young people we can exploit to do better in each sector we want to.
So government is taking over non-public goods and services because most of such areas are very capital intensive, for which the private sector, we don't have that much. And even if you have that much, it's going to borrow the money to do that. And as I'm well advised, is the ADB, the Agri Development Bank, are taking the financial aspect of such areas. And individuals, if you go and you are not a farmer that you can prove that you are, the rate at which that money will be given to you is very high, and nobody wants to risk his or her livelihood to go for a higher rate to invest in such areas. That makes it why the government have the upper hand to invest in such areas.
The government is doing that. They are taking over a lot of it, leaving small for them. private sector zero.
You have it.
Example, well, I think the banks are not too far. The banks that collapsed, they are the immediate ones I can think about. So I think government needs to do more. They have to step up, yes, in supporting young entrepreneurs.
Why?
Why? Oh, well, there are a lot of young people there with a lot of business ideas. Sometimes they need somebody to nurture them, okay, show them. Sometimes the people need capital. Sometimes the people, they have the capital, but they need someone to direct them. Start this way, you should. Yes, so yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think government is investing in other sectors than entrepreneurs because it's not investing in entrepreneurship. So many enterprises are collapsing, and I think if so many enterprises are being established, I think many people will be employed. Many people will be employed, and the rate of people not getting work will be reduced.
I think it's true because if you look at this, when this COVID happened, well, it's on the entertainment sector for other areas that the focus has been on. But I think businesses are entrepreneurial sector is where that's where the company that's driving the economy. So I think the focus should have been also much more on this entrepreneurial, those who are running their own businesses, to help invest some funds there. Also open up so at least we can get access to loans and at a cheaper price, so we can do more. So I think that borrowing may not be direct cash handed to business, but when the environment is okay, you get loans at a cheaper rate and all those things. The tax are not that much. You can expand, you can grow without getting government funds directly into your business. So I think it might be looked at in a bit to help business to grow.
You can hear even announcements in the news. This time, teachers need increment of their pay, and government did it for them. As for private sector, no pay. At times we heard government is going to give private sectors loans. People like us, you can't get some. If you didn't see whether it's true or not, you will not get some. You don't know where the loan will sell to people.
Government has taken over businesses, leaving few for the private sector. For instance, the microfinance companies that assist us with loans, whenever we save with them, has been collapsed due to best reasons known to the government.
I think it's a social responsibility of the government to make sure that the citizens are well taken care of. So some of the things that they need to do is a social contract that we sign with the government. When you go to the government in power, they expect them to provide you with the infrastructure, with the school, with the health, safety, everything. It's very important to do. But I think government overdo them. They overdo them by trying to do more than what the city ought to do. By so doing, it makes the burden of the government big more. So the funds is limited because the needs of the country are a lot, but the ability to do are not that much. When government bring all this on board, you overdo them and becomes a burden to the state, indirectly affecting the economy. Because now you have to borrow more to make this social intervention work, which has impact on the economy, which has also impact on our businesses. Yeah, I think that's also something that the government, being the state, also play a major role in terms of trying to invest in this property from them. But I think government also to play a role and allow the private sector to evolve, because that's why the PPP works, private partnership. Where the government allows the private sector to play a part in trying to expand the economy. Government should become just a driving tool for the engine of growth is the entrepreneur. So the government just creates environment. You don't just involve in competing with the entrepreneur in trying to do business. the saying that goes, government has no business doing business. So the entrepreneur must be doing the business, and the government just creates the environment for the business people to strive.
With that, I don't think government is taking over property, because even in Ghana here, most people patronize in the public schools, especially when it comes to the SHS level. So for a government to make it free, it's a plus on the economy. But whereby avenues are not created for other businesses to grow, it becomes difficult to live in the economy.
Now the government is rather doing partnership. There's a policy called the PPA, the public-private partnership, that people are to come on board and help the government of the day to achieve a stated aim or objective. And therefore, this has also opened other avenues for the youth who are also teaming up to become entrepreneurs. You know, when people don't want to invest their money into entrepreneurial areas, they intend to buy bonds and shares. And therefore, most of these bonds and shares, government is the major stakeholder when it goes to such areas. And it makes it very difficult for people to make gains in such areas. Therefore, the need for us to materialize our little resources into entrepreneurship.
Most of the time, yeah, most, because now there's no job after tertiary. There's no, at least if you have the best certificate in the world, you still have to pay bribe.
Yeah. Yes, I would say that yes. They rather invest certain sector and leave private sector, and that the private sector is the engine of every activity in the country. Because if the private sector is well equipped, it means that they will rather employ workers to reduce the unemployment rate we are talking, than concentrating in government its own way. Because if government is working alone, it cannot succeed. But if private sector also come in, then you see that the unemployment rate will be reduced down.
Not at all. I don't think so. I think we set our own pricing. We don't need government interference to set our pricing, because we are business our own. We buy our own product, and we tend government only interferes in terms of the taxes that impact on the pricing. But as to what price we sell, it demand and supply business. The price we set it when they buy or don't buy. So we tend to buy demand and supply will fall the price either up or down based on the market forces of the product.
Sometimes government, there are some structures that you see government has started and abandoned over some period, and those structures are worth millions of Ghana cedis. Those monies could have been allocated to places that can use the funds appropriately. For the tariffs in the form of taxes, it really or greatly affect businesses, because we those who are into importation, like importation of the goods, sometimes you know of a certain percentage before you even buy the goods, but by the time the goods get to Ghana here, there will be some changes or an increment in the prices or the rate at which you pay the tax is being deducted. It greatly affects the operation, because when it happens that way, we have to also increase the prices, and by doing, you probably wouldn't get more people to patronize your business.
Yeah, I'll say yes. For instance, I'll use this NAPCO as an example. I have a cousin enrolled on this program, and he does basically nothing. There are no checks and balances, nothing. By the end of the month, the government pays them. So I'm like, it's just a waste of our money, actually.
But it's one thing area that price control is also a challenge. For example, this fertilizer stuff, government said this is a price that ought to be sold, and it tends to have impact on the market. People, that's where the smoker comes in. Demand and supply comes in, and they tend to skyrocket the price. Because government's intervention, this price ought to be selling it, which in the reality of the ground doesn't happen that way. So it tends to affect the demand and supply, and it shoot price up, and it's part of why inflation times goes up. So those are the things that government look at, because government cannot involve with the day-to-day running of the lives from there, because it tends to have another side effect of it. Yeah, at times it's very true, because if you look at putting hospitals and it's stuck in places that cannot be completed. The affordable housing, you Sagleme, other things, millions of sunk in there, and resources are just stuck over there. And you see millions of cities going down the drain and all that. And see, at times they do things that you let know if it was their own money, because they have done use that to do that kind of thing. So those are some of the things that at times it goes with these things, and it plays a part in trying to not get the value for money. Some of these things, yeah. I don't think so that they can produce government, because government doesn't involve in production of goods. I think they produce goods. I don't think so.
It doesn't even matter either. They are running the country, so they feel they are doing what they think is right. But then I think they have to do more.
So I would say uncompleted school buildings. Yeah, and uncompleted affordable houses. It affects entrepreneurship because the government investing money in those buildings, he could have maybe fund these private businesses for the business to go better.
Government does not misallocate any resources, because even with the government of the day, they have scarce resources. How then do they what? Misallocate it? No.
When the budget is read for a particular year, you could say that most of the funds are geared into other infrastructural projects compared to investing it into creating of job or entrepreneurship. So with that alone, funds are being misallocated.
Yes, I would say that yes. The reason why I'm saying yes is, sometimes, like, excuse me to say, if it is the resources the government has acquired to give to the farmers to do farming activities, by the end of the day, you see that those people, there is some particular people normally getting that support, who are not farmers. And at the end of the day, they rather bring the burden back to the farmer, that farmers have collected the money without paying. Meanwhile, it is the market women, the station people, the teachers, the nurses have come in saying that they are farmers and collected the money. At the end of the day, you can't trace them again. So to me, certain areas is being allocated wrongly. I would say that no, there's all the things government is producing, they know that there is a demand on those things before they produce them. There is no business or there's no commodity that government produce without value on it, or without people have interest on it. Only sometimes it is only when the government is produce it and the people really want the product and the price of that product increase high, then that is the time a lot of people, consumers is irrational people. If they think that this thing is too high for them, you see them, they will run away even though they need it. So they will turn it that way and saying that yes, this product they have produced have no value, because people are run away only to leave that thing.
It doesn't say the resources equal to everybody, because we the traders, what we are being through at times, we always feel that we are being neglected, because when you are bringing goods, the amount they tax, they charge you, the cost you go through, then you always feel like giving up in the business, because you spend a lot in it, and then we are not seeing any changes and no response. Day by day, they keep on increasing. They are not reducing anything. And that one, I think it's not fair to us.
In Ghana, there is no restrictions to who owns a business or who does not own a business. It is liberal. But the interesting part is that those who own businesses, most of them have not even registered because of the taxation issue I raised earlier. And the government of the day is not also making it viable for people by giving the indigenous tax holidays. It's only the expatriates that have such fringe benefits, and I think that government should have a critical look at that area.
Because we are in a state that most of the things are actually owned by government, and government controls most of, let's say, pricing. The prices, for instance, government controls a lot. The private sector is made up of just few individuals who probably don't have enough of funding to do what they want to do.
Land are expensive in Ghana, and especially in our part of the country where we find ourselves. About 2 years ago, a plot of land could go for about 3,000 Ghana cedis. Now, because you have been made a regional capital, Western, the same plot of land are being sold for 12,000 and 8,500 respectively. So we see that something that 2 years ago, 2 years down the line, you could buy it as low as 3,000 cedis. Now you have to pay 12,000 to acquire the same land. So if I am a young person who have come out of the university, let's say I even want to go into farming, I can't afford the land to even start the farming in the first place. To even get the capital to start the business is a problem. So it's a bit difficult in our country, whereby you have the ideas, you want to do something meaningful with your life, but you don't have the funds to do it. It becomes difficult to undertake such initiative. In the sense that the restrictions are needed in the economy, so that not everybody or anybody can just get into the economy or into the society or the community and just do whatever he or she pleases. So those things are needed, but whereby they are not properly regulated, it becomes a problem to the individuals who want to venture into new lines of business.
I don't think private business can never be eliminated, because the private business is the heart of the economy, especially in terms of employment. The government sector can't absorb much of the unemployed youth. It's the private sector that does most of the employment. So, direct or indirectly, I don't think the private sector can be neglected in terms of going through the registration of a business.
There are no restrictions.
Okay.
Everybody can do something. There are no restrictions as well.
No, really. I think it's open for, if you have the requirements, you can just open a business. There's no restrictions what you can venture in. As long as it's legal, there's no restrictions as what you can. I think there's more that we can do. Yeah.
Restrictions are called principles that help guide every businessman. Every businessman should have an objective, and then those objectives will help you to achieve your mission and your vision. And in so doing, without these principles, you just go out of lane.
I've seen so many people starting businesses, getting them registered. So I don't think there are restrictions or.
No, there's no restriction, because for now, if you have the money, you can own your own business. If you have the go ahead of up there, as in this is the authority from this, you are good to go. But it depends on how you make use of it.
Sometimes, if you are owning a business, it means that you have to have all the requirement documents. That shows that yes, this business belongs to this person. Because if you are having a business and you didn't register the business, what shows that you are the owner of the business? It is that place you will tell the person that yes, this company is being owned by this so and so, because he is the one paying taxes or paying taxes for the government to develop certain areas.
Minimum wage laws have set barriers in our private businesses. Sometimes we are unable to get skilled workers. You have to train a worker, pay that worker, and then at the end of the day, you see the worker leaving the job. So I think the government should not determine wages.
Yeah, they don't have the freedom to set prices. They can set the prices, alright, but the prices will definitely change without them having control over the prices. Government controls fuel prices, and fuel prices greatly affect other sectors.
Yes, to a certain extent, because not every business can pay up to that minimum wage. Because somebody wants to engage, and the employer is willing to accept. Employee is willing to accept, but laws makes it difficult. So instead of being to employ about 2-3 people, you only take one, and they overburden because you cannot afford to pick the extra 2 people on board because of the wage thing, and it's something that needs to be done.
Minimum wage laws have not set barriers in private sector businesses. It makes labor expensive because when labor is not readily available, you need to pay more for what you could have paid less for. So it makes it labor expensive. It depends on the economy, or it depends on the sector. So if it comes to the transport sector, the government have to intervene a little bit in setting of prices. But when it comes to other merchandise, it's strictly by the business owners and the environment in which they find themselves. Since we are closer to Kumasi, anytime you need to set a price, you need to make sure your price is either equal to or a little bit above that of Kumasi. Because when it's excessively above that of the price of Kumasi, your customers will not buy. They will rather prefer to go to Kumasi to get their product. So with this, it is not government necessarily intervening in price setting, but it has to do with the area in which you find yourself and how business activities are conducted in those areas.
I think there is enough labor. Sometimes it depends on how you treat human beings when they are working with you. You don't have to always be strict, so that you can get people who work with you for a long period. So in my industry, I don't think there is inavailability of labor. You must always also put human face to your workers. Treat them like your own, and you always have them working for you. I think we set our own prices. Okay. We do.
You pay whoever you pick based on your income. You don't kill yourself. So there are a lot of loss. So when that happens, you don't really pay the person how much he or she deserves. But then looking at your income, you also have to do something too. So I think you have the freedom. But just as sometimes, maybe, let me say, those who import, I also take from some people before I also supply. So if the rates are high, maybe clearance at the port and all that, they also increase their prices and it affects the market.
Minimum wage is not helping private sector because most of the private sector people do also loans. Those loans comes with charges. And even if should you forgo the due date time for payment, you pay additional charges. But you are made to pay your workers within the minimum wage. You are made to also pay slate for them and a whole lot of stuff. And that is deterring the young private business. Most businesses are collapsing because of these issues. And mind you, the workforce, the amount of money that we pay our people, we are not getting the same requisite results. So the minimum wage is not helpful at all. I have opened my company, and I know what will best suit me in terms of awardment of salaries. And let me tell you, it is only in Ghana that we rely on salaries. In the 1800s, salary is a Greek word. In Greek, it's a Greek word, simply means salt allowance. So in the 1800s, people rely on salary, and they believe that salary is their salt allowance. But in Ghana, scholars are on salary, professors are on salary, which is not going to help them. You can't live on salaries. You should have you should be like a versatile person. You don't put your egg in one basket. So that salary thing is not going to help any individual. If on this planet Earth you don't want to diversify yourself and you want to go by salary, I'm telling you that is the meaning of salary. It's a Greek word, simply means salt allowance. When there are availability of labor and inability of labor, it means that there will be no production. Productivity will reduce drastically when there is not. But when they are readily skilled labor, you know the labor is relative. There are people who are skilled and there are those that are not skilled. Some might have the qualification, the CVs, the first class and the second class, but it will not put food on their table. Because when you present them, you have to do on-the-job training. They can't do exactly what they read. So therefore, they hire the labor, but I prefer the skilled labor because for them, they believe in practicality. And when you give them, you pay them based on the output. That is why most of the businesses now in Ghana are opting for the commission basis. Because if you prove yourself, you get higher salary. In Ghana, there's no pricing mechanism here in Ghana. And therefore, people have taken advantage of that and they can change the trend of prices as and when they want it. Especially with the construction company, those who are dealing in the steel industry, the iron rods, and then the cement, and then the nails, roofing sheets, they as and when they want, they increase their prices without any check and balances in place. I think government can help curb this issue by instituting a pricing committee, a pricing control mechanism that every individual will succumb to it. Provided you are working in the enclave of Ghana, you should conform to those prices. You can't just increase prices as and when you want it. It derails our economy.
I think minimum wage is okay.
You're in a business where you need people to work with. Not able to get the right kind of people, tell how much you're able to go. So you don't get the right kind of staff to work with. And human resources are an integral part of any business to grow. So the right kind of staff that you get depends on how much you can go as a business. So if our ability to get the right kind of people to work with is a challenge. We just go to school, they're going to but they cannot have the requisite work to achieve from there. So that's something that we face as a business from there.
Well, private sector, even if you are setting prices, we should be able to set prices that will be sweet to the nation or sweet to the people of the nation. We can't just do prices because you have the power to produce things, so therefore the price will be higher than the normal price in the market. It doesn't sound. We're supposed to put prices contrary to even the exchange rate we are talking. If the exchange rate is low, then you have to be also put your prices among that exchange rate so that they can be able to let the people don't have the stress in the country. A lot of the young girls and the young boys always want the quick money. And because of the quick money, they don't want to even suffer like what we are suffering. Because they have seen farming, they have seen farming as a suffering thing. And look at me, I've been in the business more than almost 20-25 years now. I'm not driving a Land Cruiser or a expensive car. But let me tell you that small boys, 15 years, 20 years, they have cars, they have Land Cruisers. Where did they get the money? They want the quick money. So to me, if there will be a availability of the resources that you can be able to attract the young girls or your young boys to come to work in their farm, then you see that ever blessed day you will have workers that will do one or two things. Then you can also be able to use that one to pay those who are not getting any work to do it. Then they can also be living on that small thing you are paying them. I would say minimum wage to me is not that bad, because if you are doing something and you are following the minimum wage, it means that you are going to achieve certain knowledge that can help you in future. Like I said, if you are employing people and the minimum wage is too high for you, and you want to calculate all those things and even buy your raw material, then it means that the private sector is going to make loss. And because of that, the person who prefer of picking few numbers for them to work on his side than taking the high number of people which you cannot be able to pay them.
Let's assume I have 10 workers, then it will get, for motorbike, they don't pick it like bicycles. It's difficult. You can sell one bike a day. So let's assume I sell 3 motorbikes a month, or I'm assuming, or 5 at times. When the market is no good, they only pick 4 or 5 of them. Then the workers are 10. The amount you get when you are to deduct your main amount, the profit, even if you divide it among the workers alone, you yourself, you'll be empty-handed. So if that one will happen, it will affect within the at times, if the motorbikes are not picked, but you'll be forced to pay them. So the extra mile you run in order to get capital and pay them. For the pricing, that one, let's assume if you are going to buy a goods, then the taxes and then the cost you spend on it, that one will depend. It will determine the amount you come and sell it. So if government says we should sell a motorbike 2,000, then on our way coming we spend more than less than half of the money. Meaning if we sell it 2,000, you will not be able to go for second goods. So you'll be bankrupt. You have to adjust the price in order to meet the requirement to get a reasonable amount.
It's the way my work is. And you know that there's no market here like other places. So if I employ more, how am I going to pay them? If I employ them and they so after finishing their work, I have to pay them, or monthly, or if month ends, I have to pay them. If I haven't got market, how am I going to pay? How am I going to get the money to pay? So because of that, I don't employ. I do it myself.
Okay.
Yes, I think to be an entrepreneur, to own a business, you need to have a land. So land acquisition is not a big challenge. And state lands, I think all lands are invested in the state, and the government has control over the state lands. So I think government's role they plays in land acquisition and its documentation plays a bigger part in trying to expand businesses. And that's part of how come land commission thing from there. But I'm sure now that the government trying to digitize it, it's going to help because it makes the process faster. Now if you want to mortgage your property, the lease system it takes months to get it done. If you don't have the lease, you cannot even get the facility to run business. So these are some of the things that if the government speed up with this, it's going to help make the business environment much more favorable.
In general, I would say no. But if it were to be restricted to specific areas, maybe let's say in the catering industry or in the hospitality industry, then we say that those things are needed. But in general, no.
Businesses rather than helping the business.
Yes, especially the taxes that we pay. It brings a lot of burden on us, especially when you are a startup business, because you have to pay a lot of taxes, which becomes a problem for the business. At times, even difficult to even break even. You end up running at losses.
I had to go through a number of processes, and I was given 3 weeks, but it eventually took almost 3 months before I even had the Registrar General Department's work. But I'm told now things have changed. You get it faster than before.
In my field, it may be maybe 4 or 5 suppliers. You go and tender to supply a facility, let's say a hospital. At the end of the day, you may not be chosen, you may not be awarded the contracts based on their interests. Or maybe somebody sees them behind to give them some things, they are 10% or whatever. So when that happens, allocations taken by us.
One, getting a business certificate or business paper as a whole sometimes requires a lot, because not everybody starts a business with just a loan or just a penny. You need to make use of the environment based on how people react to you. One, me for instance, I started this business through a family by support, because the whole building was there. So I just need to make use of the building, use of the tools and equipment inside the shop. It was through a friend, because they know that I have a vision of this shop to be going. I called him and he was like, "Oh, it's okay, because as long as you have the building, you have the location, and you have the mind of doing this, it's easy to get the business certificate." So I called him and he was like, "Let me give what I do and the dates and the time duration for my business to him to do everything." So I just give you within a week, then I'm done with it. So it was just easier.
Yeah, it was very easy because I was working with USA Advance, and they were the people who collected my details and went to register journal. And from there, they were able to register my company and bring the documents to me as a registered entity. It was about 3 to 4 weeks, then they've done it and bring it. Before you can register your company, there is activities you have to follow, or document you have to follow before you can qualify as a registered entity.
Do you think there are too many?
Yes, to me it is too many, because sometimes they will question you for certain documents. If you are not yet been in that business before, it is always difficult for us to get that document to register your business.
In order for you to register your company, you go through a lot of expenses. So many taxes. You have to see people to lead you in order for you to get it faster. Then carry on your business activities. You have to spend a lot in order to express people to attend to you. Other than that, your license may delay, or due to your low percentage that you will be getting, it will delay, or it will take a long time before you get your license.
If you don't have, these days, if you don't have somebody who is nearer to where the contract is, maybe you cannot get. Maybe you may be the right person who will do the contract very well, but due to that problem, you cannot get it.
Who do you report to when the one to defend you is the one stealing from you? Let me put it in quote. I don't want to. So it's serious. Now you can't ride safely on our roads, and the work that I do, it demands a lot of movement of goods, and every checkpoint you get to, you need to pay something. But whom do you report to when those that are supposed to defend you are rather taken from you? I'm not mentioning names.
In Ghana, most people will always want to prove their alliance with the ruling party in order to get such contracts. And it will interest you to know that rules that are made does not even last for 5 years, and they become deplorable. And therefore, there's no expertise in terms of gaining contract or awarding contract, be it sole sourcing or whatever. So I think that there should be a modality, a committee who have the requisite idea to help government in awarding specified contract to specific companies. And there should be specialization. That when specialization is recognized, then we will tag every company to a project, and then we'll be able to assess their strength and their weakness. So for you, they are here. Those administrative, like I cited, when somebody owns you and they take the fellow to court, then they will begin to ask the person how much he earns by the closure of the month. They spread that amount evenly But forgetting that you, the entrepreneur, you have gone for a loan from a commercial bank that comes with a rate. So there is an unfair justice when it comes to that. Evenly, when somebody makes a deposit at the police station and even you tell them you are coming for the money with issue of mobile money fraud and stuff, they will tell you wait till the money becomes blank before it will be given to you. So that there's no equality, and I know the maxims of equity stated that he who comes to equity or who seek equity must come with a clean hand, and therefore they are not doing us any good. With my area of business, like I stated, finance, the exchange rates, when you go to those forest bureau and you check the rate and they are not helpful, you will tend to go to this black market. They can add you pesos and that will increase your profit. You know, every businessman aim at making profit. So black market exists, especially in some areas we call it even the Goro boys. Initially it was with the DVLA, others was also with the registrar general, but because of this digitization drive, it is helping to curb it. Yeah.
Rights and contracts are given in unfair ways. Sometimes when you don't belong to a ruling party, you don't have access to national cake.
You may just have to belong to A or B before you may get contracts from whichever government that is in power.
I don't really know much about that because I do my own stuff and distribute. I don't really get contracts from anyone, but I think as young people, sometimes the requirements needed for huge contracts you cannot meet, so they will definitely not give it to you.
Most of the black market is mostly carried out by these foreigners who actually don't have the funds to or do not want to go through the necessary registration and other processes before they start their business.
One of our bigger challenges is having these goods, fake products, tend to affect our products that we're doing. And they come from all of our sources. Cheap products, and they are just trying to imitate product market. In the cloth business, in the food business, in the soap business, a lot. And it's one of our biggest challenge because they pirate the product and it comes in the market and the price is a bit cheaper than what you are selling, which affects our ability to buy more and sell more. Is there any business that operates within an environment of laws and restrictions? If you don't have laws and restrictions in these things will get out of hand. I think you realize this banking sector, because laws were not obeyed, people went overboard. So there ought to be restrictions and guidance. It's very important. But when they overdo, when they overstretch, when there's no room to do it, that's where it leads to difficulty. But every institutions, there ought to be rules and regulations and restrictions ought to be done. But in the way that restricted the business ability to expand, that's something that needs to be looked at.
In my line of business, we hardly go into contracts of that nature. So I can't really say, but in general, to some extent, yes. Because Ghana, to be honest with you, is whom you know. Is whom you know.
Judicially, I think corruption is a perception. That's what I see. Because I've not personally have counterpart people. So when you go to court, you don't get justice from there. So it's perceived and it's top down for town. So administratively, I don't see it as a challenge because you go through the systems from there, then you have access to do. Mostly the thing that goes is whom you know of a sort that tend to affect your, and some of them are perception, some of them are also reality. If you know somebody, you get things done faster. And it's like it plays a part in every human institution where the systems are set the way that bureaucratic is there. People have to find a way out of it. So in our region here, it's a new region that begin to set up, systems are beginning to set up. And I don't see this challenge initially happening, but I'm sure I don't foresee it happening in the future. But being a new system, things are much more better than improving. And the challenges with them because it's a new region, things are beginning to set up. And these are not already set up in full. We are beginning to bring new institutions try to set up in our region. Yeah. I would agree to a large extent that these kind of contracts and these kind of things are done in a way that you must be within. They say that you must be within the circles to understand some of these things happening. So if you know someone, if you're from there, it tends to aid your ability to get what you want. And it's some of the things that people have been complaining that this contract came because he knew somebody, you want to get it, or you are genuinely qualified but you don't get it. It's some of the challenge that goes with it. It's some of the things that I think it's also a challenge that needs to be looked at.
The black market is something, if the demand is always high, you see people hustling that thing, even though the thing is there, but they would say that it's not there. Example like maize. If maize are buying high now, people can even bring it out and the price will come down. But they will not do it. They will hide it and be selling it maybe 1, 2, 3. And you see that people will say, I want maize and I could not get it. Then you see that they will put the price today 20 Ghana cedi. Tomorrow you see them adding it 21 Ghana cedi. You see that means that it's a black market that they are doing. Sometimes I would say yes, because if the things have been fair given and nobody is able to follow that fair activities, then the law of the nation is supposed to catch that person because he has breached the contract like that. And sometimes if people are doing something which is not good and the law is not being taken by those people, you see that the new generation will continue to follow that method and doing it. So to me, I would say that if law really exists in Ghana, then things we have been seeing wouldn't have been doing that way, because we have discard our laws.
So using myself as an example, I think the youth today want to start everything big. I started small with the little I had. You don't need to have a shop, you don't need to have all the equipment. 10 years on, I'm still using my hand, I'm still doing manual. But gradually, I believe I'll grow. So I don't think the financial institutions not giving financial support to the youth is what is stopping them from owning businesses. Because I believe they can start small.
I believe it is a good initiative, and it's something that it will help the up and coming entrepreneurs like ourselves, like myself, to be able to get better at what we do and also be able to expand and do more. Because when our challenges are being known out there, then the right resources could be allocated to us so that we can also expand our businesses. My expectation is that hopefully in our next budget, more revenues will be sent to the private sector and young entrepreneurs who are up and coming.
Good project is to help create awareness of what entrepreneurs face, the challenges we go through. So I think it's a good project. Thumbs up. Well, I'm expecting this will go out so loud to those who are supposed to hear, especially the government institutions that we work with, so that they can amend things. For instance, helping young people do better in their businesses instead of killing our businesses. We are tired. They are really killing us. I have a lot of friends who started business with me and they are all down the drain. They cannot even pay their workers, not even rent. So we pray that this project will rather bring solutions to our problems as young entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
I think it's a great project if only people's concerns will be considered and probably implemented, because most of these, not only your project, other people come, or even government projects come, they come and take your views, but in the end things keep running the way they were. I expect to see improvements in some of the challenges I mentioned: obtaining licensing and some other like funding for the private sector. And if if government could do something, or whatever body it is could support to do something about the interest rates.
Yes, I'm thinking that if the government can able to take a second look about it, so that they will be able to replan all the activities of private sector and the government activities, that's governance, so that we can be able to have fair in all the activities we are doing, or all the business we have been doing in the country, so that it can help everybody to be able to be doing something and be happy about what he's been doing.
We expect some changes that will come to our heads. At least they should reduce the taxes so that for us to also be able to get something small, be able to employ some amount of youth. That one will bring employment to the system. And then they should just reduce the tax for us. That's all.
Listening to the entrepreneurs across all the 16 regions in Ghana, three things are evident that, first of all, government cash transfer programs haven't yielded the best results as they're supposed to. And then also, government proves to be a competitor rather than an enabler. And also, the institutions that we have, which are supposed to, be inclusive, are rather being extractive, thus creating a number of problems for entrepreneurs. It's in light of this that the Africa Center for Entrepreneurship and Youth Empowerment has offered 12 recommendations. And we think that with these 12 recommendations, if government is able to adopt them, it will help free up the entrepreneurial space. First of all, we are saying that government should standardize the licensing and regulatory requirements and constantly educate entrepreneurs on them, and then also focus on eliminating red tapes. With this, we have also 5 other things beneath this recommendation that we think government should pay attention to, or expanding on this. So we are saying that governments must ensure all regional centers have established regulatory bodies to avoid over-concentration on a few, which tends to breed long delays with its associated ills such as bribery and extortion in the case of acquiring license or certification. Secondly, we also think that government's digitization agenda must make each region autonomous in the delivery of issuing permits and then licensing or certification. The third thing that we want government to pay attention to is the National Commission for Civic Education, which is the NCC, must collaborate with various regulatory bodies to complement government efforts by providing some form of education or information, and then constantly update entrepreneurs and incorporate feedback from the entrepreneurs as a participatory means to build inclusive institutions. Also, we think that the cost of doing business is also very, very high, particularly the cost of registering business, and that we are proposing to government that government must reduce the cost of registering business by 50% among natives and then also foreigners. We also think that governments should deregulate the registration process by eliminating letters of consent from auditors. The success of entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial growth in any country is also highly dependent on the effectiveness of the judiciary or judicial integrity. And with this, we think that the legal education space must be free to encourage students who are entrepreneurial and then innovative to come up with solutions that can engender a more robust way of addressing critical challenges that the judiciary is confronted with. We also think that government should concentrate effort to strengthen the under-resourced judiciary and then also encourage judicial effectiveness and then also integrity. Taxes are generally affecting businesses in the country. So almost all the 16 regions that we went to, one way or the other, you'd have entrepreneurs complaining about taxes and how it adversely affects their businesses. So one of the things that we are proposing or recommending to government is that government in the long term should concentrate on cutting down on these taxes. But in the short term also, what government can do is to use the taxes that it has collected over time to strengthen institutional capacities of these institutions, which are supposed to be enablers to ensure effectiveness. The fourth point that I would want to stress on is that governments must amend the Banking Act to ensure that the banks are able to provide customer or value-centered solutions or localized solutions to enable SMEs to have access to credit. When it comes to the issue of financing SMEs, you realize that the interest rate is very, very high. The monetary rate is very, very high. And once the monetary rate is high, then you can also know that the interest rate is also going to be very, very high, because then, banks would definitely want to push, the cost to the final consumer. So a monetary policy that's around 14.5% should be looked at again. This should be reviewed by the first quarter of 2022 to about 10%. And then also the minimum capital required to set up banks should also be taken a second look at. If it takes an entrepreneur like 400 million Ghana cedis to set up a bank, how many of these people would be able to set up institutions that can provide customer-centered solutions to these small and medium enterprise? So instead of 400 million Ghana cedis, we are recommending that government should review this and have it lowered to, say, 300 million Ghana cedis. Because then we believe that once competition sets in, of course, the banks would have no other option. The banks which are becoming a monopoly would have no other option but to cut down or reduce their interest rates further to enable SMEs have access to finance with ease. Property rights is a major issue when it comes to the challenges inhibiting entrepreneurial growth. We think that local chiefs must set targets of having their lands or their areas as litigation free. We also think that governments in the regions that we have highlighted, all of the 12 regions that score below the average mark, governments must not set up businesses in these regions, because then what happens is that because the factors that's supposed to encourage entrepreneurial growth or the enabling factors for the success of entrepreneurship, which are not there, of course, any attempts by government would render its efforts useless, and it would be pumping money, setting up overblown ventures, but there wouldn't be any results to show. So instead of doing that, we are saying that government must limit its interference in setting up business. And of course, government has no business doing business. Government must also ensure that people have confidence in the entrepreneurial society. You can't encourage young people to set up business and then with the same ideas that young people come up with, government also comes up with, or one way or the other, picks up these ideas from young people and then creates a monopoly of these ideas. So in that case, government becomes a competitor instead of being an enabler. So government must ensure that it refrains from embarking on any entrepreneurial journey and encourage or let people have that confidence that, look, government is there to support. However, government is not going to be a competitor. And from our checks, it's evident that people do not want to set up business one way or the other, because as government planning becomes very difficult for the individual. So we think that government should refrain from embarking on this numerous entrepreneurial activities that it has been doing over some time now. Government must focus on an improved investment climate by giving out tax holidays to investors, and then also it should also do well to cut down on these cash transfer programs, which have not yielded substantive results over the years. Government must work closely with independent investigative bodies to investigate public and civil servants engaged with unexplained wealth. So the Office of the Special Prosecutor, for example, must be encouraged, supported, and then compelled to prosecute corporates of such investigations or reports. Government must pay attention to its basic role, and of course, that should also include safeguarding the individual's liberty and then his property as well. So with this work, we are calling on governments that it ensures confidence in security on major highways, especially the interregional routes. And of course, this can be done by having periodic patrol teams roll out a strategic positioning of law enforcement agencies. One of the institutions that has been neglected for long is the chieftaincy institution when it comes to its role or its importance important role in the entrepreneurial growth of the Ghanaian society. I think it's very important that we revisit our past and draw lessons from this institution, what he has or how effective he has been in administering or settling local trade disputes. Currently, we have the Chieftaincy Act. We think that the Chieftaincy Act, or a proposal that the Chieftaincy Act must be amended such that devolutional powers can be given to overlords of the various regions or local economies so that they can settle local trade disputes. We consider this as a complement and then a corrective measure to the judicial ineffectiveness. Pursuing freedom comes at a cost. It is very fulfilling in the end. To say it is painful at the start is an understatement, but the reward of what free people can do is our greatest motivation. It's been a year long working on this particular project, right from securing funding to its implementation. And it's been a very fulfilling journey. We are very grateful to our partners who have supported us, one way or the other. And most especially, our sincerest gratitude goes to the Atlas Network for providing us with enough funds to kickstart this particular project through to its implementation. And of course, the supporting partners also have been very, very helpful. So a very big thank you to Capital Cafe and Restaurant, Stanbic Incubator, Aceye Company Limited, Play Design and Studio, Amfokwache Photography, Abamaba, and of course the individuals who also voluntarily gave out some donations. We remain very, very grateful to all the supporting parties and individuals who have helped us to this point. A very big thank you to also the media houses in country who have been very, very supportive of this project and have one way or the other have carried out the news to their audiences. A very big thank you to Joy Business, and then of course Newswa and then ABC Ghana, and then all the other media houses involved. We remain so grateful. As we end the project, our hope is that the policymakers will adopt the recommendations that we have made so far to enable entrepreneurs carry out their activities with the maximum freedom, or carry out their activities with ease, because we believe that when these things are done, then of course we would be halfway through solving the problems such as unemployment and then bribery and corruption. Of course, these two issues are the major issues confronting the country at the moment. So on this note, we wish you all a happy new year. Thank you, and be a part of our journey. God bless.